Welcome to Money Smart for Adults, Module 3, Your Income and Expenses. We're going to go through this instructor guide and highlight how you can facilitate this training. As in all other modules, it starts out here with a content page, giving you all the information relating to this module listed by section and page number so that you know exactly where to find things here. Background information for instructors, as with other modules, is exactly the same. Starting out with a reference to the tools you'll be using to deliver the training, including the guide to presenting money smarts for adults. The training preparation checklist is to make sure that you have everything that's going to equip you to have a successful training. Materials you may need, as in other modules, this is a checklist of all that you're going to need to deliver the training, including the instructor guide, participant guide, and PowerPoint slides. Now, regarding the participant guide, if it's a challenge for you to give copies to everyone in your training, please refer them to the online version or some other solution that may be appropriate. Optional materials such as the parking lot for questions and supplies for any optional introductory activity that you may be doing should be on hand. Understanding the icons section is the same for all the other modules in the Money Smart for Adults training. You can reference them here as a refresher if you need to. The module purpose is to help participants to track and understand their income, money coming in, and expenses, money going out. The module also discusses different types of income and ways to receive income, shows how to read a pay statement, shares a tool for tracking income, and provides information and tools for tracking and managing expenses. The module at a glance table. We estimate that you will need 1 hour and 45 minutes to cover the entire module, not including breaks or any optional introductory activities. And please note, Module 4, your spending and saving plan, uses the resources and information on income and expenses from this module to create a budget called a spending and saving plan. Consider content from Module 4 to be used in your training. So you want to think about how you can bring pieces of the content from Module 4 into Module 3 to help participants have a familiarity when you get to that section, because you're going to pull from Module 3 to use information for Module 4. Please refer to the Guide to Presenting Money Smart for Adults, which includes additional information on selecting sections for specific audiences so you can further customize your training. Now, the module at a glance table lists the sections, the key takeaways, the purpose, objectives, and the time estimates all laid out here for you. Module opening. Show slide 1, which is the title slide of the module. And as in every module in the Money Smart for Adults training, you're going to complete a few tasks such as welcoming participants as they arrive, introduce yourself, ask them to sign in, ensure any requested reasonable accommodations are in place, and make any necessary adjustments. And once you're ready to begin the training, ask participants to complete the pre-training survey. Parking lot and participant guide. Establish a flip chart poster for a parking lot and inform your participants that it's for questions, concerns, ideas, and resources that you'll address during breaks or at the end of training. And mention that the participant guide is theirs to use during and after the session. Encourage them to take notes and to writing them. And if time permits, start your training with an optional introductory activity. I highly recommend that you do this, as it's a great way to get participants energized and ready to learn. You'll find suggestions for fun activities in the Guide to Presenting Money Smart for Adults, or you can use your own. Section 1, Income. The objectives here are participants will be able to identify different types of income, list pros and cons of different ways to receive income, understand a pay statement, and track income. Now let's pause for a moment to point out some helpful navigation features of the instructor guide. There's helpful information in the headers and footer that will help you stay oriented. In the header, the right-hand side reminds you that you're looking at the instructor guide. This is helpful if you happen to also consult a copy of the participant guide during your training. The left-hand side of the header identifies the section you are in. The footer identifies the module along with the page number. Now, these modules can seem like they all look alike, but you can always know where you are by looking at the headers and footers. You'll notice that there are facilitation instructions, say, ask, do, show slide, which are prompts to guide you through the flow of the training through the section topics. Introduction to section and key takeaway. Showing slide number 3, you're going to begin to discuss the different types of income, ways to receive income, how to read and understand a pay statement, and how to keep track of your income. You're introducing this particular topic, and then you're going to give them the key takeaway on slide number 4, which is understand your income. That is the first step to using it to meet your needs. The first topic of section 1 is what is income? You're starting out by asking the question, what are some types of income? And you want participants to give answers. You're going to write their answers on a flip chart or a whiteboard, and you'll have a discussion about all the different several types of income. Now, thinking of income in a few categories can make the topic easier to understand, and so you'll say things about earned income, income from assets or investments, public benefits, or entitlements that pay money. Now, please note that TANF programs may have a different name in your state. Use the term that is most familiar with participants in your training. So you want to make sure that you're using the same thing, the same lingo that is being used currently where you are to reference the TANF program. Slide number 7 gets into gross and net income. You're speaking about the differences between the two. Slide 8 goes into garnishment. And this is where if participants owe money, creditors can sometimes directly take a part of the income and assets to cover the debt. That's called a garnishment. It generally happens as a result of a court order. So you want to make sure that your participants understand what that means. So you'll explain wage garnishment, and you'll also explain account garnishment, money in an account that they may have at a financial institution that can be taken to repay a debt that is owed. The first activity in this section is the try it, ways to receive income. So you're going to say that there are several ways to receive income and then come right back and ask a question. What are ways you can be paid money? For example, cash. So you're going to write the responses on the flip chart or whiteboard and add the following if not mentioned. So cash, paper check, direct deposit, payroll card, electronic benefits transfer. So in slide number 10, you're showing the slide of what they see in their participant guide of how they can start to think about these particular areas, because we're going to actually do a pros and con list. And so slide number 11, you're giving instructions on these 5 categories, 5 common ways to receive income, and you'll want the participants to brainstorm pros and cons of each. Now you're going to assign one way to receive income to each pair of participants or small group. And if you have more than 5 small groups, you can assign the same topic to more than one group. Please note, you may have to work with the group or groups assigned the electronic benefits transfer if no one in the group is familiar with this. You just want to do that so that that topic can be a discussion in your training. Even though there might be people who might not be familiar with that, you still want to have the discussion simply because it's part of the training, part of the curriculum, and it's good information for them to know. Give participants 3 minutes to complete the table of pros and cons in their participant guide for their assigned topic. And after the 3 minutes, ask each group to share the pros and cons they identified for their topic. And you'll see a list of the different pros and cons for each of the different areas here on the next couple of pages in the instructor guide. The next topic is understanding pay statements. You're going to show slide number 12, which shows all the various elements of a pay statement. You'll see here the descriptions for each, and you'll say, as you begin to describe these different elements, you'll say exactly what this script is showing here. On slide number 13, you'll talk about deductions, required deductions and elective voluntary deductions, and the differences between the two. There's also information here regarding Federal Insurance Contribution Act, or FICA. In addition to that, the Social Security deduction and the Medicare deduction. So please make sure to see the scripting on that and share that information with your participants. Showing slide number 14, income tax withholding. So you're going to talk about the Internal Revenue Service Form W-4. They will be asked by their employers to complete the form for federal income tax purposes and possibly a similar form for the state or community. Now, you want to discuss what the bullet point says here, and then also you'll come down to where it says, if you indicate you want additional federal income tax withheld, your take-home pay is likely to be lower. So have the discussion around that using the scripting that is listed here, and then making the distinction between a W-4 and a W-2. Now, of course, participants can go to the irs.gov website and type in W-4 and read up on that so that they can get more information. Also, the IRS redesigned the W-4 form so it no longer uses the withholding allowances. So employees who submitted a W-4 before 2020 do not have to complete a new form merely because of the redesign. However, they may want to do so for more accurate withholding. So you may want to give participants current forms from the IRS website. Our activity now is try it reading a pay statement. So you're going to read the scenario or ask a participant or volunteer to do so. And the scenario is Janice reads her pay statement. Give participants about 8 minutes to work in pairs to look at the example pay statement and answer the questions. And after the 8 minutes, ask each question and review the answers with the participants using the answer key. And time permitting, you can ask participants for their answers before sharing the correct answers. You'll see an example of the pay statement that Janice has here on page 22 in your instructor guide. The answer key for the pay statement is here on page 23, and you'll give the participants an opportunity to share their answers before you share the answers from the key. Now, this is really to help prepare them for the next activity, which is apply it, reading my pay statement. And you're going to suggest to the participants to do that after the training based on timing. There's a lot to it here, so you want them to just take a look at it. So give them a few moments to take a look at and review the actual form here in their participant guide, but then they can work on it at another time. And you can see here on page 24 in the instructor guide, it gives you all the detail that is actually on the pay statement. The next topic is more than one job or a paid hobby. Showing slide number 17, you're going to talk about people that have more than one job. They may have a full-time job and a part-time job, 2 or more part-time jobs, or even 2 or more full-time jobs. Some people may have a main job and then work various side jobs. They call them hobbies, gigs, freelance work, side hustles, or something else. This is what we know as the term gig economy. So again, you're just wanting participants to understand that all of this can be counted in terms of their review of their income, because we're really trying to get them to see all the different sources of income and what it means. Now, here's another distinction. W-2 employee versus a 1099 employee. So if a participant receives a W-2, the employer considers them to be an employee. If the participant receives a 1099 miscellaneous, the employer considers them to be self-employed. Please make that distinction. so that your participants are very clear on the differences between those two classifications of employment. Now, you may want to print samples of the current year's IRS Form 1099 miscellaneous from the IRS website and hand them out to participants during the training just so that they can get a chance to look at it. Next topic is tracking your income, showing slide number 18. This is about people tracking income that they receive from various sources. So they're going to need to list it and then categorize it. Now, there are 4 different areas of categories here: regular income, unpredictable income, seasonal income, and then one-time income. And so you want to give them the descriptions that's listed here in your instructor guide of what each of those are, because you're going to lead them into the next activity, the Apply It, My Monthly Income Log, where they're going to have an opportunity to do just that with their own income information. So as they look at the actual worksheet that's on page 13 in the participant guide, they're going to list their sources of income and the amount that they receive for a given month. Then they're going to check whether or not the source is regular, unpredictable, seasonal, or one time. And again, saying that this is going to help them to plan for future months. Now, sometimes the income frequency is not really listed on a monthly basis. And so there is a table for calculating monthly amounts on the next page for them to do. As a matter of fact, it's at the end of the actual worksheet. They'll be able to see that. And it's shown here in the instructor guide as well as in the participant guide, but it gives them an opportunity to convert all of their income sources into a monthly amount. And so they're going to list their monthly amount and, of course, then check the appropriate box. And once you're done with that, you're moving into the section closing, which is a restatement of the key takeaway, which is understand your income. That is the first step to using it to meet your needs. Section 2, expenses. The objectives are participants will be able to track and manage expenses. So you'll introduce a section showing slide number 21, and you'll state the key takeaway with slide number 22, which is understand your expenses. That will help you decide how to save, share, and spend your income. The first topic of this section is ways to use your money. You're going to ask the question, what do people do with their money? Write the participant responses on a flip chart or the whiteboard. And if the ideas participants contribute do not include examples of saving, sharing, and spending income, ask questions to make sure that those concepts are included. The talking points at the top of page 32 are important to share with participants. It can really be helpful for them to hear you as the trainer acknowledge that thinking about expenses can be stressful, especially when participants are worried about making ends meet. But better understanding where money is going can empower your participants to make choices and changes in the long run that can help reduce stress about expenses. You'll notice here on slide number 24, those 3 different ways of saving, sharing, and spending income is listed here. And you'll want participants to start thinking about how they can do that and how they can classify how they're using their income. Slide number 25 also gives them ways to think about expenses with needs, wants, and obligations. And so you'll also say what the descriptions are regarding those particular things. Slide number 26, if participants receive public benefits, and there are asset limits that must be considered, and resource and asset limits tell participants how much money and property they can have and still receive the benefit. Now, those vary for different types of programs, and if participants build up too much in savings, the benefit could be eliminated or reduced. So it's going to be helpful for you to learn about the resources and asset limits from your public benefit administrator or its website. There are also programs and products that allow people to save money and not jeopardize eligibility for benefits. So the ABLE accounts, which are savings accounts for people with disabilities, are an example of that. As a matter of fact, Module 5, Your Savings, includes more information on asset limits and ABLE accounts. Consider including portions of that module in your training based on the interest of participants. The next topic is tracking your expenses. And so you're going to say that tracking expenses helps them to understand if they're using their money in line with values and goals. Also, tracking expenses may help uncover where participants can make changes, perhaps decrease spending so they can save or share more of their income. So, tracking expenses also have another unexpected benefit that you're going to talk about is when you track expenses, you usually spend less money. It's like the raising of awareness of where the money's going tends to give people incentive to maybe not spend as much. And so that's what we're talking about here in this section. And so we're going to get into using the two tools for this section. The first tool is an applied activity, which is my saving, sharing, and spending diary. And the second tool is the applied activity, which is my monthly expense log. Now, starting with the first tool, the applied my saving, sharing, and spending diary, this is on page 16 in the participant guide, and this is something that they're going to complete after today's training. So let them know that you're going to give them an opportunity to review it, but you really want them to spend the time required to really do this and get it completely filled out. Now, there could be a possibility that they may run out of space for a day, so encourage them to use a blank sheet of paper to continue their list of expenses. Alternatively, they can use a smartphone or use an app to actually help track those things. But the bottom line is that you want them to be able to get all of their expenses listed out so that they can complete this diary. Also, you're going to review the two examples at the top of the apply it with participants just to give them an example of what it is. Time permitting, give them a few minutes to go over that and ask you any questions. And here it is here in the instructor guide, page 36. You can see exactly what it looks like in the participant guide. Now, moving on to the next tool, my monthly expense log. This is on page 18 in the participant guide. And they're going to use the information that they put in the previous tool in the saving, sharing, and spending diary to complete this monthly expense log. So you have to do the first one in order to do this one, the second one. Now, this is an important step to building a spending and saving plan. So make sure to emphasize that. Now, grouping things into categories will make it easier for participants to decide if they want to make any changes. The expense log is separated into sections for saving, sharing, and spending. It allows the participants to use the notes column to write down how they could change an item or other notes that are important to them. So as they're thinking about how they're grouping things together in those categories, they may have a change of mind in terms of how they've been doing things or maybe how they want to do things going forward. So just know that this exercise is really geared to help them to think through that, because we want them to make sure that they are doing what they can to really understand how they're actually handling their expenses. So time permitting, again, give them an opportunity to review this, because you wanted them to do this after the training because of the depth and the length of time that it may take for them to complete it. But you want to give them an opportunity to ask questions of you so that they can get a good understanding. And as you can see here on page 38, you'll see exactly the worksheet that they're going to be working with. And you notice here how even at the bottom of this one, the table for calculating monthly amounts is also listed so that they can convert some of those expenses that are not every month into a monthly amount. The next topic is managing your expenses. So this is about helping participants to avoid a few things: late fees, interest on unpaid balances, negative credit report entries, loss of services, and additional charges associated with loss of services. Slide 31 are different ways to pay bills. And so there are options there in person, by mail, or electronically. And so you'll have that discussion with participants and say the descriptions as listed in the instructor guide. Now that's going to lead you into the final activity for this section, which is to try it, making a monthly payment calendar. So this is a scenario, and you're going to ask a participant or a volunteer to read it, or you can read it yourself. But it's about Juan Carlo uses a monthly payment calendar to take charge of his bills. So what's great about this is that there are several expenses that he has, and the idea is to have participants to really think through how he can actually place these expenses, their amounts, on the appropriate dates on the monthly calendar to help him plan when he pays them. And so you'll see an example here on page 44 in the instructor guide, but you're going to give participants about 6 minutes to work in pairs to complete this and to fill in Juan Carlos' monthly payment calendar. And after the 6 minutes, review the answers with the participants using the answer key, and if time permits, ask the participants what they filled in on the calendar and why before sharing the correct answers. So this will really give them hands-on experience with working with this type of a monthly payment calendar. And you'll close the section by restating the key takeaway. Understand your expenses. That will help you decide how to save, share, and spend your income. Module closing. You're going to help participants to remember the key takeaways from this module, where section 1 was understand your income. This is the first step to using it to meet your needs. And then for section 2, it was understand your expenses. That will help you decide how to save, share, and spend your income. And then take action. Every module has the same take action activity. It's important not to skip it, even if you can only spare a couple of minutes. The participants will remember what you just presented a lot easier if they can write down a few action steps. Knowledge isn't enough, action is required. And then you're going to have them complete the post-training survey showing slide number 35. And you have the actual answer key for both the pre and post-training surveys to give you an opportunity to review them and to compare the answers from your participants. In terms of looking at the overall curriculum for the Money Smart for Adults training, you'll find that Module 3 is right here close to the beginning of this training, and you'll see how it fits in. And that will conclude our overview and highlights of Module 3 for your income and expenses.